Is it true that people that live abroad have no social life? Is it true that pretty much all they do is go to work, come back home, sleep, and repeat the cycle? Let's have that conversation. Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you are a returning viewer, it's great to have you tune in again. And if you're new to my channel, welcome to the family. My name is Lydia Atandi and I love to discuss things that I'm passionate about. We are currently on a series called Diaspora Honey and Beestings, where we discuss the ups and downs of living abroad. Just a bit of background, I was born and raised in Kenya. I moved to the US in 2014 and I currently am 10 years old in the US. So just a recap, on the previous episode, we delved into an interesting topic, and that is loneliness experienced by people shortly after they move abroad. So that will be episode 3 of this series. Be sure to check it out if you haven't yet. Today, we will carry on from where we left last time, and we will be discussing loneliness that people go through once they are settled abroad. Let's jump into it without further ado. So I get asked quite a bit whether I was lonely when I first moved abroad, because I was by myself when I made the big move. So to answer the question, in that context, I was more homesick than I was lonely. And knowing the difference is key. Being homesick is the state of deeply missing and longing for home and anything associated with home, such as your family members. Loneliness, on the other hand, is the unpleasant feeling that comes with lacking meaningful connections. I was quite homesick when I first relocated because I missed my parents, siblings, and friends immensely. However, I didn't feel like I was lonely in that context because I had my cousin and his wife who made me feel at home, and also because I spoke frequently to my parents, my siblings, and friends on the phone, and that gave me a good sense of connection. Let's move on to another different context, and that is the setting of work. A few friends that I've talked to like to express the fact that sometimes living abroad can get lonely because mostly what they do is go to work, come back home, sleep, and the cycle continues. I partly agree with that, but I don't think that working, going home, sleeping, and having that on repeat is a lifestyle that's particular to living abroad. I do think, however, that it is a lifestyle that's particular to being an adult. What then about living abroad has the potential to make this cycle feel a little lonelier than it would in one's home country? Let's take a keen look. So there's a number of factors, a number of reasons why going to work and coming home, that cycle, going back and forth from work to home, can feel lonely when you relocate. Number one, you are going to work with a new set of people who have a culture that's very different from what you're used to. This, especially at the beginning, has a high likelihood to make you feel a little out of place and a little lonely. In that context, yes, I did feel lonely sometimes. Secondly, many people in diaspora love to work extra hours, not for the love of working, but because they're helping support some family members in the home country, or because of projects that they are working on, mostly back in their home countries. And if you're not careful, you can find yourself in that work-home mode for 3 to 6 days in a week, and for some people up to 7 days in a week. This routine can get old, and the mundane nature of it can aggravate feelings of loneliness. Another reason loneliness is bound to creep in more abroad is because of the effect of the 24-hour economy on the social aspect of life. At home, most people have a similar schedule, and you can easily catch up with friends or family in the evenings or on the weekends. Contrary to that situation, many Western countries have the 24-hour economy system, which creates a scenario where people have conflicting schedules, and this can make it hard to catch up with friends and loved ones on your days off. You might be excited to catch up with your friend at 6 p.m. on your off day, but that's the time they're getting ready to go in for a 12-hour shift. With this kind of work culture, it is easy for one to find themselves by themselves on most of their days off. Unfortunately, for younger people with this kind of setting, it's easy to find yourself hanging out with people that you don't share values with just for the sake of having company. And for people of any age, it is easy to pick up destructive habits as a means to occupy spare time. This, though, is a whole other conversation for another day. So moving on, let's talk friendships. And this is a major one. When I lived in Kenya, I had a good number of friends. My friendships were 40% from college, 40% from church, and 20% were either a trusted neighbor or a childhood friend or someone I knew through other ways. When I moved to the US, I wasn't going to school originally, so I couldn't make friends through school. The very first church that I was a member of had very warm and welcoming members, but I struggled a little bit in the friendship sector. Though I got along with most people, it was a little hard to make close friends because most of the members of the church were either significantly older or significantly younger. And there's nothing wrong with having friends of any age. I actually did, but for a 24-year-old girl that was used to having mostly friends her age, that was a big and difficult transition. Also, one way that people made new connections was through events. So back then, I didn't have much of a social network, so I rarely was aware when any events or social functions took place within my community. With all these factors stacked up, it was no surprise that I sometimes, quite often, felt lonely. Another factor that can make it easier to get lonely abroad as compared to at home is that there's a plethora of social functions at home as compared to abroad. In the Kenyan community, for example, at home, there's always a chama meeting here, a wedding there, always something social on standby. That is not the case abroad. I quickly learned that you've got to be more proactive abroad than at home if you want to have a vibrant social life. And that leads me to the question, how did I deal with loneliness? One thing that I have learned from the time I have lived abroad is that your social life is largely what you make it. So yes, living abroad comes with a number of factors that can predispose you to loneliness, but you don't have to get consumed in loneliness. It is very possible to have a great social life. Many people that live abroad do, and all they did was take charge of their social lives just as they did with any other element of their lives. They were intentional about creating a good social life for themselves. They refused to be defined by statements such as, "You have no social life if you live abroad." See, I have a different level of respect for people that relocated in the 80s and 90s because I feel like they took one for the team. They didn't have the globalization that we have right now, the cell phones, the internet, and the diverse community that we have now. And many of them still made ways to stay connected. For us who relocated a lot later, there's so many changes that we can take advantage of. For me, if there's an opportunity to create new friendships and strengthen the existing ones, I go for it. If there's a friend I haven't seen in a while and I would like to meet up with them, I will be proactive about scheduling a time to meet up with them. I will ensure to go beyond the notorious instance where you bump into a friend and go like, "We should catch up," and they go like, "Oh yes, we should," and then no one says anything after that. I will try to follow through with the actual catching up. If there's a friend or family member that lives far away or lives close by and for some reason we are unable to meet, I will pick up my phone and I will call them. Never underestimate the power of a great call with a long-time friend. I have two of my best friends, one from high school and another one from childhood, and they both live in Kenya. I can confidently say that the frequent calling to check up on each other is a big part of what has sustained the close friendships. One for 20 years and another one for about 30 years, okay? So concerning reaching out, you might be like, but I'm an introvert. See, okay, I am also an introvert. And as we all know, as most of us know, introverts are recharged from solitude and introspection. When we introverts are left to our own devices, we can easily stay indoors for weeks. I work in healthcare. After my 12-hour shift days that involve working around people, I feel depleted of my social energy levels, and I recharge by taking alone time for about 1 to 2 days when I get home. And I totally get that there's that strong need to take time off by yourself to be replenished. But after that, I will gladly connect with other people. See, even the people that are the farthest right on the spectrum of introversion need that human connection, and they've got to interact with other people as well. So if you are an introvert like I am, I'm not saying you don't stay true to who you are or, to attend every single function. I am just challenging you to be more intentional about connecting with people if this is something that you've been avoiding. We do all need that human connection more than we think we do. Another point that I cannot overemphasize is that if you have a quality friend, take them, put them in your pocket and run with them, because those are not easy to come along. My social circle has broadened quite a bit over the years. Over the years that I have lived abroad. I do have many acquaintances, but sometimes that gets mistaken for friends. I actually have few friends, but I'm grateful because these are people that I can say have made immense sacrifices for me and die for them. I am very content, and I'm very content about, having few friends. I feel like it's better to have few loyal friendships than having a wide circle of people you call friends, then coming to realize that none of those friendships hold any water. It's the quality of the friendship, guys, and not the quantity that matters at the end of the day. You can feel very lonely amidst a multitude of people you call friends, yet you can feel very at home and connected with one or two or three people. Quality, guys, not quantity. Another thing that was of help to me concerning this topic is embracing solitude. You see how I pushed introverts into coming out of their comfort zones and interacting with people every now and then? That's the same way I'm going to challenge extroverts to embrace alone time. And I know it sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but listen, guys, my point is that both sides of the coin are important. It's all about striking a balance between connecting with other people and connecting with ourselves. It is possible to still feel lonely after spending all your time with others, because there is still that one person that you have not connected with, and that is yourself. And you might be thinking, how is solitude helping minimize loneliness? Is it not doing the exact opposite? And my argument is that you can look at it two ways. You can look at solitude as being alone, or you can look at solitude as spending time with yourself. When you look at it as being alone, it promotes the notion that you cannot be happy by yourself and that you always have to be around people. Sometimes people gravitate towards people they have no business being around because just because they are afraid to be by themselves. However, if you look at solitude as spending time with yourself, it turns things around. You get to slow down from the craziness that the world is sometimes. You start a journey of cultivating a rich inner life because you get to learn more about yourself, and you learn to be comfortable and more asserted in your own company. Solitude teaches you to be your best friend and to be your own go-to person before being that to anyone else. When you look at solitude from this point, it helps you appreciate the fact that it is okay to be by yourself sometimes. Do I sometimes get lonely? Of course I do. There are times I feel lonely by myself, and there are times I feel lonely around other people. But when I started viewing my own company as a great thing as opposed to something I should be running away from, the instances when I felt lonely by myself significantly decreased. And that is when I started unapologetically doing things like solo dining and going on solo trips every once in a while. Valuing my own company enabled me to tap more extensively into my creative outlet, the writing, the music, and the content creation. When we give ourselves permission to be by ourselves, we give ourselves permission to know ourselves better, and we listen to ourselves better, and at the end of the day, we become better versions of ourselves. My last and favorite reason why loneliness does not overwhelm me is that I know I am never really alone. The Bible tells us repeatedly that we are not alone, and that the Lord is with us wherever we go. And that's my go-to assurance, not only through times when I feel lonely, but also through times when life throws any curveball at me. Every time I remember this, I am at peace and I feel very assured, because God gives me joy and comfort and peace, and I can't think of a better way to complete my social circle than with God. So guys, at the end of the day, for me, I believe it's about the three connections. If we are deliberate about making deep and meaningful connections with ourselves, with other people, and with God, we will be giving room for the growth of a rich social life. Before we wind up, I want to know what your experience on the issue has been. Did you experience loneliness when you relocated? And if you're still in your home country, have you been through it at all? And how did you cope with it? Feel free to share your encounter in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. I know this particular episode has been longer than usual, but I really had quite a bit to say about it. This topic has been dear to my heart, and I'm glad that it's now off my chest. I look forward to us tackling other topics soon. Before then though, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you are notified when I upload the next episode. Meanwhile, I wish you a very blessed day, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.